Right now, Chicago Bears at the Tampa Bay Bucks. Two terrible teams, 2.5 right now in favor of Tampa. 40.5 to 41 is your total. It is juiced at 2.5. Could be heading to 3 here on Tampa. Adam, listen, two terrible teams. I don't have a teaser leg in my account right now. Bears up to 8.5 is at least enticing. It's a super low total. It was a fraudulent win by the Bucks. If you look into it, they were outgained by 123 yards, yards per play. I mean, basically everything. It was just the turnovers there for the Vikings that really went sideways for them in a super low total, and teams that I don't have any sort of feeling on one way or another. If you're going to give me 8.5 points, that seems to be my lean. But like I said, not in the account as we sit right now.
Well, the question for me, Matt, is going to be how much are we valuing week one? And I think that's going to be my theme throughout the podcast as we talk about how we look at things. And for me, the danger in this game is a little too much confirmation bias, right? I came on here last week and I told you guys I think Chicago is the most overrated team in the NFL. And we had a game that confirmed the fact that Chicago was wildly overrated. Now, how overrated is the point? Because you're just talking about what Tampa Bay was last week. And I'm not going to go so far as to call it a fraudulent win. I think the Bucs did a lot of things well. I think they controlled the ball well when they needed to control the ball. So I think there are some things that are repeatable in Tampa Bay's performance from last week, but I think there are a lot of things that we were concerned about with the Bears that are absolutely going to be repeated. Justin Fields is still holding on to the ball for an eternity. If you were anywhere on the internet this week, you saw Chase Claypool basically taking off the entire game. You saw guys running routes to the exact same spot, and you have a defensive head coach here in Matt Eberflus where we don't have a lot of scheme to believe in from the past. So ultimately, if you're playing this game with taking the plus 8.5 on Chicago, I think you're just doing it as a system play to say, hey, look, I'm getting 8.5 in a low total game. I don't think either of these teams are very good, so go ahead and give me the 8.5 side. I have no problem with that. For me, I'll pass on this game.
Steven, what say you here? Again, two teams that I power rated, both of them bottom 5 in the NFL. I think both of them looked like bottom 5 teams in the NFL. I hadn't really changed the way that I think about either one of these teams. And so, it's most likely going to be a pass to me because I don't know if I have a dance partner that I love to go along with the Bears necessarily. But if I did, it would probably be just the Bears in a teaser leg. That's about it.
Everybody likes to call week 2 overreaction week. Are we moving these lines too much versus week 1, et cetera? And I agree with Adam. If you're just looking at it strictly from a system play, the Wong teaser on the Bears makes sense, especially after they were actually a 1.5 point favorite on the preseason. If it was just them having a poor week 1 against the Packers and it didn't go well, that'd be one thing. But to Adam's point, I mean, this looks a lot worse than just poor execution or maybe not as much talent as the Packers. This seems like poor coaching as well. I mean, there are things that have been said and reported this week about the Bears in terms of preparation and game planning that we really haven't seen since Urban Meyer was the head coach of the Jaguars. Now, there isn't scandals of the coach going to the bar, not riding on the team plane or anything, but just in terms of lack of knowledge and malpractice in getting the players ready to play in an NFL game. Massive red flags for me. So I have zero interest in putting a nickel on the Bears in any way, shape, or form at this point. So to me, I agree that, Tampa, it's an aggressive move considering the offense and the quarterback, but we're still under 3 here both ways. So even Bears at +3, I was not interested. I bet Bucks -2.5 here. I think this is still an above average defense against potentially a dumpster fire of an offense with a quarterback who can't throw the ball and a run defense in Tampa that matches up pretty good if Chicago wants to go run heavy here. And Baker Mayfield, listen, he's still a bad quarterback, but when you give him Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, maybe he's an average quarterback. And he's playing a Bears defense that just allowed 9 yards per attempt to Jordan Love in basically his first start as a starter in the NFL. So under 3 here, betting against what might be a dumpster fire was fine for me. I took Tampa Bay.
Yeah. Caveat to that Jordan Love thing. There was 2 massive yards after catch, plays in that game that really didn't, it isn't the full story of all of that, but I see where you're going.